Hello my friends, welcome back. Hope you're doing well. Today I've got a landscape photo and I'll be in Luminar Neo editing that, and I'm going to show you how I handle tricky lighting situations in Luminar, how I edit those photos to make sure I can balance the light, but also the detail and the color and control the entire scene. That's what we're doing in this video. I'm going to show you a photo I took in Iceland on one of the Luminar excursions there. This is a very typical scene in a landscape, which is the foreground is going to be darker. The source of light, which would be the sky, is going to be brighter, right? And I'm talking about at the edges of the day, right? Sunrise, sunset, things like that. And in this case, we're inside an ice cave, so it kind of accentuates the difference between the brighter and the darker stuff. In this case, I had to take an exposure bright enough that I could see the actual ice cave. But as you can see, the sky is just blown out. So what I did is I shot a series of brackets. That was the bright exposure. This is the middle exposure. You can kind of see what's happening here. The sky is coming back, but of course the surrounding cave is too dark. And then of course a dark exposure, which of course gives me a much more usable sky. But the foreground's a mess, right? It's not a mess. You just can't see it, right? So you don't know if it's a mess because it's too dark. So I'm going to use all three of these. And I'm going to drag them into HDR merge. And I know you might be like, oh, HDR, come on, man. But it works so well in certain situations, and this is one of them. And so it's something that I use quite often when I am creating landscape photos. I pretty much almost always shoot brackets unless the light is just perfectly lit and all that. So 3 exposures, I'm going to drop them into HDR merge. Let me show you what we come up with, and then we'll do some editing. Okay, and here is our base HDR. Now, you can see a lot better into this photo. The sky is a lot more balanced. There's enough brightness or light, if you will, to work with in the scene. Now, you can see some stuff on the left-hand side, which is some other people that were set up and shooting. So I'm going to take the erase tool, and I'm going to go get rid of these things because I don't want them in my photo. So I'm going to erase the towel that somebody had hanging on that. I'm going to get rid of that camera leg, and I'm going to get rid of this entire rig here. Let's see how well the erase tool does. There's that. Let's click erase and get rid of that stuff. And honestly, it did a pretty good job if you look at it. I think there's a little bit of a smudge there, a little bit of yellow still there. I'm going to come back and hit erase again. And here we go. Now, what I generally find with the erase tool in Luminar is if you've got a kind of a busy background like this one where there's already a lot of texture, it works really well. It doesn't always work so well if you don't have that in the background, because when you're using the erase, what you're saying is, hey, I'm going to highlight something in Luminar, you figure out what to replace it with. That's different than clone and stamp. Now, I've already tried erase twice, and as you can see, there's still a little bit of that towel there. Now I could crop it out, but I'm going to go ahead and show you clone and stamp because it is different than erase. With clone and stamp, what you're saying is I set the source, so I'm telling Luminar, replace whatever I'm painting over with what I tell you to replace it with. So I'm going to click there, and I'm going to left bracket key to shrink my, my mouse, and I'm just going to do that. And all I did is I painted the pixels that I highlighted onto that towel. That's the difference between clone and stamp. Clone and stamp, you're saying, put these pixels there, actually a copy of these pixels there, and in erase, you're saying, hey, Luminar, you figured out. Anyway, bottom line is we now have an image that's ready to edit, and so I want to jump into that. And if you've been here before, you know I always start with develop, and in fact, I approach a photo edit with 3 things in mind: light, detail, and color, generally in that order. And I also pretty much always say light, even though I say it's first, it's actually a continual thing. I'm always playing with the light through the entire edit, and you'll see that here on display. The first thing you'll notice, of course, is the highlights are still too bright, but just pulling them down, it takes care of that pretty darn well. And I'm going to go ahead and lift the shadows so I can kind of balance that out. So I'm going to do something similar to the shadows, the opposite of what I did to the highlights, and I want to add a little bit of contrast, just a little bit, and then I'm going to add a little bit of sharpening. Nothing major, but before and after, I mean, it's already a much more usable photo, before and after. And again, you probably know my 1, 2, 3 punch when I edit photos. Develop raw is usually first. By the way, it's develop here because I took the raw files, built in HDR, which is now a TIFF. So when I first used develop, it was a TIFF file. So that's why I didn't say develop raw. But step 2 is pretty much always super contrast. I'm going to go ahead and make the adjustments here that I've noted to myself that I did. And as you can see, and I'll show you when this is over here, all I'm doing is balancing out the light. And that's really what the beginning of an edit is, to me, really all about, is you're kind of getting the exposure right, which I don't really like that expression, but that's kind of what you're doing. You're balancing the light so that you have a better picture overall of what you're doing. But like I said a minute ago, you're never really done. So before and after, before and after. Kind of a minor difference, but a useful one. By the way, I'm going to pause for a second, and if you don't yet have my free Luminar editing guide, it's like 27 or 28 pages of tons of tips, tricks, and insights. It's available at the link down below. Just check it out. It's totally free. It's available to anyone that subs to my newsletter, and that's at that link below. Check that out if you don't have it already. Now, we're still on light, and we're going to go into light depth, which when this came out last fall, I was goo goo gaga over this thing, and I really still am, because it is creating a depth mask, and it's all about the light, and I absolutely love that. And because light is the most important aspect of any edit, you can imagine why this tool is so useful. It allows you to control the depth of the light, as you're seeing here, and I've got countless videos using this tool already, but what I'm trying to do is brighten up that area a little bit. And you'll notice it's picking up the gentleman really well and this part of the cave, and you can just look around and see what it's doing based on this depth mask. I love that. I just think it looks so good. I'm going to play a little bit here. I'm going to take the warmth near down a little bit, because the near part is basically what's highlighted, right? So I'm making it a tad bit bluer, and the far part is basically this stuff further back. So I'm going to not make that quite as dark, and I'm going to actually warm it up a little bit. So maybe something about like that. But overall, light depth has taken me from that to that, right? Before and after. You will notice it's more light coming in that way, like it's streaming through the cave. And you can just see that based on the depth map. So it's giving me the ability to really shape that light in the photo. I love it. It's a great tool. I use it all the time. And if you're not using it, I truly believe you're missing out. Structure AI is the next one, because remember, light, detail, color. So detail for me is Structure AI. And what I want to do is I want to apply it everywhere except really around the sky, right? So what you can do, here's a fun little trick, is I'm going to go get a radial gradient, and I'm going to put it around this sky that has this guy in it. And I'm going to make it something like that, where I want to cover that area. I want to overlap just a little bit, but I want the opposite of that. So I'm going to go to the mask actions, and I'm just going to click invert. So if I show you the mask now, there you go. I've inverted the mask. It's a quick, easy way to isolate that area and get everything else. So that's going to give me the ability to come in and drop a little bit of structure. And I say a little bit, I'm doing like 40 or 50, kind of because I know HDRs that are really crunchy and detailed is kind of, 10 years old. Like nobody cares about that anymore. And I totally get it. But in scenes like this, I care about it a whole lot, because it goes with it. It's not just over the top HDR to me. That's what it looks like. It's crunchy. I mean, you're standing underneath the ice in an ice cave in Iceland. So before and after, you will also notice one more time, before and after, the photo's getting brighter. So that helps with brightening up that interior. And that's another reason I use Structure AI. Okay, light, detail, color. Again, I talk about this in the ebook that I mentioned before. You can get that at the link down below. Color for me, Color Harmony is the best color tool in Luminar. And it's, I won't be taking questions on that. It's absolutely great. I love it. And I just don't think there's anything else that even comes close. And it's just because it's so powerful, and it gives you so many different color tools. I do think you have to be a little bit careful, because it's easy to use all of them and go over the top, because it's effectively 4 different tools, and I'm using 3 here. And that's not the only color tools I'm using. So I'm kind of going heavy on color. But hey, it's an HDR from Iceland inside an ice cave at sunset. Like, if you can't go over the top with that, like, what can you do, right? So all I'm doing here is adding a little bit of color into the highlights. That's what color balance does. If you look at this, shadows, midtones, and highlights, gives you the ability to pick each of those tonal regions or tonal areas and apply color to it. This case, I just picked the highlights and I added some warmth, so I'm bringing up that sunset. So before and after, right? That didn't require a mask because it's isolating the highlights. It will also pick up the reflected highlights here on the side of the ice cave a little bit, and I think that looks fine. So before and after, but I did it globally. That's why it's hitting these areas, but also all these other tools, brilliance and warmth and split color warmth, are hitting the entire photo because I didn't use a mask. I didn't really need a mask this time, but sometimes you do. Okay, after this, I want to add a little bit of mood. This is where I start getting into the kind of the customization aspects. So first up is mystical, and I just love mystical. I just think it gives this nice kind of contrasty, kind of, I don't know, moody kind of look, right? So before and after, you'll notice the bright parts get a little bit brighter, the dark parts get a little bit darker. It's kind of a contrast tool, but it also essentially softens up the image. Some of that crunch that I added with Structure AI is getting slightly dissipated. I think it's a good combo. I think they work together really well. And while I'm on that, I'm going to go back and use another color tool. Now this is one I like to do. I love golden hour, but I just don't want it across the whole photo. So I'm going to give it like a 40, but I only really want it in that sky. This is where radial mask comes in so handy. So again, I'm just going to create that mask, and I'm going to do something like that, and I'm going to tilt it a little bit. Let me do that. So something about like that. And that gives me the ability to just warm up that area before and after, before and after. It gives it a nice little bit of a glow. But I'm going to copy that mask. Mask action menu is so useful. I use this a lot. Copy mask. And I'm going to close it. And I'm going to go into toning. And I'm going to paste that mask. Now, paste. There you go. So if I show you the mask, I just took the mask from the previous tool and I copied it to this one. There it is. And the reason I did that is because I want to add some red hue. I'm on highlights, which is this button. And I'm going to add saturation of like 20 or 30, maybe 30 like that. And all I'm doing is adding a little bit of red hue because I'm on the red, not green or any of those other colors. Red, saturation of 31 in the highlights. But the reason I use the mask is because I didn't want it to add to these highlight areas over here. Normally, because it isolates highlights, usually a highlight is just the sky, for example. You don't always need a mask with toning, but sometimes you might want to control it, and that's what I did here. Use that mask so that it's just hitting the highlights here around the cave and the cave entrance, and it's not picking them up over here because I feel like I've got enough of that reflected warm light there. I don't really need to do any more of it. And I've got one more tool, and this is something where you've probably seen me in the past in previous videos, if you've been here, and if not, welcome. Thanks for hanging out. At the end of my edit, I often like to come in with the Accent AI and use a radial mask and just highlight my subject and make it pop. And that's cool. It's a great tool, and I do that a lot, but I'm not going to do it today. I got another idea for you, and that's because what Accent AI does, it does light, it does color, it does contrast, it does all kinds of things. So it's pop and saturation, all that. I just want to pop the light. Well, how do you pop the light and control it really well? Light depth. Light depth is amazing for that, as I showed you earlier. So I'm going to come in at the very end of my edit, and I'm going to add like a 35, 37, and all I want to do is pop a little bit of light around that cave entrance, just a little bit more. So I just need to experiment here, and I want to grab a little bit of that ice in the foreground, something like that. So it's just kind of a follow-up. I need to put these at 0 because I don't want the advanced settings to do anything to the photo. So I'm putting those all at 0. And if I look at the before and after, before and after, before and after, it's maybe 37 is too much, maybe 29 is a little bit better. I don't want to make it too bright, but I'm basically doubling down on what I did earlier. I'm getting a little bit extra around that rim of the cave, right up there. So the light's kind of shining in, it's beaming in, it's brightening up this pile of ice, and I just think it helps the scene overall. So instead of using Accent AI at the end of an edit to accentuate your subject, try light depth, right? Before and after. I think it really brings it to life. And speaking of bringing it to life, let's look at the original photo. That was the HDR. Now you remember the 3 base exposures that I used. One bright, where the sky was blown out, but you could see the foreground decently. The middle exposure, which was okay. And the dark exposure, which was great sky, but completely black, effectively, foreground. Now I blend them, I come up with that, and after some editing, some tips and tricks and things like that, I get that. And I just think that works so well before and after. So that's a combination of all the various light adjustment tools like develop and super contrast and light depth a couple of times, even structure AI, and then some structure for detail plus light, and then lots of color work and some mood. You can take a photo that looks okay and turn it into something that has a lot of impact visually as well as maybe emotionally. Like for you, if you look at photos, bringing back the memories like this one does, it just makes me really happy. So before and after, those are some tips and tricks for how I handle tricky lighting in a landscape. Hope it helps. Check out my free ebook, as I mentioned before. I'll see you soon, my friends. Thanks for hanging out. Until next time, you guys take care, and adios.